Welcome everybody to an IELTS reading class. So I think there's a lot of confusion about, should I be in this class? Is it worth my time? I mean, I guess that's kind of up to you. So IELTS is a competitor to TOEFL, much like the GRE is a competitor to the GMAT, or the ACT is a competitor to the SAT. So, if you don't like the TOEFL, you can take the IELTS. Does anyone in here not like the TOEFL? You guys can hear me, right? Okay. I got to be honest. I'm actually not a big fan of the TOEFL. I think the TOEFL's dry. I think it's boring. I think it's formulaic. Whereas I think the IELTS is much more kind of useful. It's more about English that you'll encounter in the real world. Sometimes like you have to look at a map. Sometimes you have to like listen to a tour guide and stuff like that. So I kind of like the IELTS. I think it's more interesting. The one thing about the IELTS though is it doesn't test the range of skills that the TOEFL tests. So if you actually look at the TOEFL, it actually tests a variety of skills. So it'll test things like inferences, author's purpose. It'll test things like vocab and context, things of that nature. Whereas the IELTS, and this is kind of the main thing I want to emphasize in this class, the IELTS really only tests one skill and one skill only, especially on the reading. Do you guys know what that skill is? It's more specific than that, Manoush. It's not just English. The skill that they test is basically just rephrasing. That's all it is. It's just rephrasing. So it's like the question and the answer is just rephrased from the passage. And so that's what I want to illustrate to you. So if you actually have trouble with rephrasing, rephrasing is one of our techniques, for GRE. The IELTS is actually not bad because it actually teaches you how to rephrase. Yeah, it teaches you how to rephrase. So let me kind of show you what I mean by this. Okay, and then I'll let you guys kind of do a couple by yourself. Okay, so here is a passage, a paragraph. Now, on the IELTS, I never read it. I never read the passage, but we can read the first paragraph for fun. So it says, land of the rising sun, sorry. So this is obviously a play on words right here. Japan has a significantly better record in terms of average mathematical attainment than England and Wales. Large sample international comparisons of pupils' attainments since the 1960s have established that not only did Japanese pupils at age 13 have better scores of average attainment, but there was also a larger proportion of low attainers in England, where, incidentally, the variation in attainment scores was much greater. The percentage of gross national product spent on education is reasonably similar in the two countries, so how is this higher and more consistent attainment in maths achieved? So let me kind of show you how IELTS works. So the first question that they're going to ask you is to choose a heading or a title for what we just read. And they actually tell you the answer for the first one. See where they say it's 4 right here? If you look at number 4, research findings concerning achievements in maths. So everyone, remember this word, research findings. And I want to show you kind of how it's just a rephrasing of the first paragraph. Okay, let me show you what I mean. All right, large sample international comparisons. So again, that's a research finding. All right, there was a lower proportion of the low attainers. That's a research finding, right? So notice they never actually use the word research finding, but you have to kind of rephrase that. Okay, research finding means like data or results or something like that. And as you can see in this paragraph, they're giving you data and results, etc., etc. So that is my point. It's just a giant rephrasing exercise. Okay, let's do the next one together. Okay, so everyone go ahead and read these two paragraphs. You don't have to read them in too much detail. And then we're going to look at the answer choices and see if we can rephrase it. All right, so take about, I don't know, take about a minute, 90 seconds, something like that. All right, so let's move on to the actual choices here. Okay, so now it's just a process of elimination exercise. The influence of Monbusho. What do you think? Yes or no? Nope. Helping less successful students. What do you think? Nope. The success of compulsory education. Nope. Okay, so what I want you guys to do is look at the remaining ones. Remember, 4 has already been crossed out. Which one of these most closely matches a rephrasing of what you just read? Okay, take about 30 seconds or a minute. Okay, so what do you guys think here? I see a lot of you guys maybe kind of going between 5 and 7. I think that's what a lot of you guys are, 5 and 7. Okay. Now, if 7 is the correct answer, doesn't that mean it has to be about the middle years education? The middle years education? So if we go back to that paragraph, is it about the middle years? Yeah, it looks like it is. It looks like it is. Okay. So that is not bad right there. And then for those of you who chose 5, the typical format of a maths lesson, remember, it does talk about the typical format of a class. It does, right? But the question is, do we want to choose that over 7? And I'm not saying that 5 or 7 is the best choice. I'm saying it has to be one of those two. So try to think about it in terms of which one of these you can eliminate. So I'm going to give you guys about 30 more seconds to make a decision between these two, because I do see a lot of disagreement in here. Okay, go ahead and give it a shot. Okay, what do you guys think here? Yeah, are you guys seeing a lot of information about math? What are you guys thinking? To me, it seems more about the general system, but does that mean I have to choose number 7? Not really, because the thing about IELTS is process of elimination is your friend. So let's just imagine we're leaning toward 7. We're leaning towards 7, okay? Now we just have to do this again and just kind of go through this one right here. Traditional ways of teaching form the basis of the lesson, and the remarkably quiet classes take their own notes of the points made and the examples demonstrated. Everyone has their own copy of the textbook supplied by the Central Education Authority, Monbusho, as part of the concept of free compulsory education up to the age of 15. These textbooks are, on the whole, small, presumably inexpensive to produce, but well set out and logically developed. One teacher was particularly keen to introduce color and pictures into maths textbooks. He felt this would make them more accessible to pupils brought up in a cartoon culture. Besides approving textbooks, Monbusho also decides the highly centralized national curriculum and how it is developed. So Monbusho supplies the books. Monbusho decides. What does that sound like to you guys? If you had to rephrase that, what would you rephrase it to? Number 1. Right there. The influence of Mambusho, right? So do you see why I like IELTS? It's kind of it's a rephrasing exercise. That's all it is. Okay? Let's do another one together, and then you can try one by yourself. Okay, so this one is right here. Lessons all follow the same pattern. At the beginning, the pupils put solutions to the homework on the board, then the teachers comment, correct, or elaborate as necessary. Pupils mark their own homework. This is an important principle in Japanese schooling as it enables pupils to see where and why they made a mistake so that these can be avoided in the future. No one minds mistakes or ignorance as long as you prepare to learn from them. After the homework has been discussed, the teacher explains the topic of the lesson, slowly and with a lot of repetition and elaboration. Examples are demonstrated on the board. Questions from the textbook are worked through first with the class, and then the class is set questions from the textbooks to do individually. Only rarely are supplementary worksheets distributed in a maths class. The impression is that the logical nature of the textbooks and their comprehensive coverage of different types of examples, combined with the relative homogeneity of the class, renders worksheets unnecessary. At this point, the teacher would circulate and make sure that all pupils were coping well. Does that sound like one of those answer choices, everybody? Do you guys remember that one that we were debating with? Remember, we were debating between 5 and 7. Doesn't this kind of sound like 5? Right? So what would we choose here, everybody? Helping less successful students? Nah. The success of? Nah. Comparative? Nah. The key to Japanese successes in maths education? Nah. What's the answer, everybody? Correct answer is 5. All right? So let's actually take a couple questions, and then we can have you guys try this by yourself. All right, let's take a question from Shubham. Hey, Shubham.
Hey, Greg.
Hey.
So I want to ask you whether I am under wrong impression or like is it true that are these passages or the language of these texts is more simplified comparative to like the GRE ones?
Oh yeah, big time.
Because I'm able to like comprehend them like very easily.
Oh
Maybe
yeah,
because even you
this is much easier than a GRE passage.
Yeah,
But
just
keep
wanted
in
to
mind. See, this is what a lot of people forget. To get a high score on the IELTS, which is, like a 9.0 or an 8.5, you have to be perfect. You have to be literally perfect. Like you can't make any mistakes whatsoever. So yes, it is easier than the GRE, but reaching this perfection is not that easy. Whereas on the GRE, you can miss 12 questions and still have a 161 in verbal.
I gave IELTS last year actually.
Yeah, how'd you do?
I got 7 in reading.
Yeah, so I think you can do better than that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sure.
Because remember, it's just a giant rephrasing exercise. That's all it is. Okay? All right, we're going to have you guys do section E by yourself. If you want to take a picture with your cell phone, no problem. Okay, so here's section E. I'll give you guys about a minute or 90 seconds to read this. Okay, so that should be about enough. So everyone take a picture if you want to. We're going to go ahead and look. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4. All right. So everyone, what does that sound like to you? I'll give you about 30 seconds to choose the best one here. So we already chose 7, we already chose 5, we already chose 1, and then 4 is out as well. The role of homework correction, what do you guys think? Nah. The key to Japanese successes? Nah. Comparative expenditure? Nah. The success of compulsory education? Nah. How about helping the less successful students? Yep, looks pretty good. And you know what's kind of interesting? I wonder if they even use the word help. Let's take a look. Tuesday, okay, they do use the word help here. But they're talking about the strugglers, right? Do they ever say the word less successful students? Let's see. Observe less successful, slow learners. Notice how they never use the word less successful. So isn't that evidence that this is just a giant rephrasing exercise? Right? Oh yeah, the strugglers. Oh yeah, less successful. That's all it is. That's all it is. Okay. All right, let's do the last one together. So what are the major contributing factors in the success of maths teaching? Clearly, attitudes are important. Education is valued greatly in Japanese culture. Maths is recognized as an important compulsory subject throughout schooling, and the emphasis is on hard work coupled with a focus on accuracy. Other relevant points relate to the supportive attitude of a class towards slower pupils, the lack of competition within a class, and the positive emphasis on learning for oneself and improving one's own standard. And the view of repetitively boring lessons and learning the facts by heart, which is sometimes quoted in relation to Japanese classes, may be unfair and unjustified. No poor maths lessons were observed. They were mainly good, and one or two were inspirational. So this entire paragraph is about why Japanese math class are so good. I mean, that's all it is, right? So if we look at this, what's it going to be? The role of homework correction? Nah. Comparative expenditure? Nah. Right? Helping less successful students? Nah. The success of compulsory education? Interesting. So this is when we have to kind of be very careful here. Are they saying the success of compulsory education here? Not really. They are saying the success of the education, but is the point the success of the compulsory education? What do you guys think? No. So this one word is kind of, changing the rephrasing. So then we look at number 8, the key to Japanese successes in maths education looks pretty good. Okay. Let's take a question from Manoush. Hey, Manoush.
Hi, Greg. How are you?
Pretty good. How you doing?
I'm good too. Your headache is gone?
Oh, yeah, big time. I feel good.
Okay. Well, one of my problems with these type of questions is always that, I eliminate some of these headers and then I doubt my answers and then I get back and I say that, what if I was wrong? So I'm going to get back to the ones that I eliminated and then I will mess up with everything.
I guess you just have to be uncomfortable, or you have to be comfortable with feeling uncomfortable with some of your answer choices, because the main problem, the main problem of going back is it kills your time, right?
Yes, and when I was reading for my IELTS, one of the things that I was trying to do to save my time was starting with the shortest paragraph. And then going to the longest one and trying to find the shortest one first, even if the shortest one is in the middle.
Yeah, it's not a bad idea. I guess my point is, don't be intimidated by the IELTS, because really they only have one trick, and the only trick they have is just rephrasing. So as long as you have a relatively robust vocabulary, you should be able to knock it out of the park.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, no problem. Hey, Sunbeam, how are you? Hey.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh, hi. I just have a question about this sort of problems. I was watching a video from British Council,
Mm-hmm.
and the lady was saying that the way to approach this sort of passage is to focus on the first sentence and the last sentence of each paragraph. I was amazed by watching that. Is it okay to just focus on the first and last sentence of
It
each
sometimes
paragraph?
works, it sometimes doesn't. So like, for example, in the case of F, it does work. What are the major contributing factors right there? So that gives you the successes right here. See that right there? But if you actually look at this one, let's say here, if you look at the opening sentence here, notice it doesn't say anything about the struggling students, right? And if you look down here at the last sentence, again, it doesn't say anything about the struggling students. So no, it doesn't always work.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Cool. All right, guys. Now let me show you this rephrasing thing even more in practice. So let me kind of show you what I mean here. So in a question like this, you have to choose yes if the information agrees with the passage, no if it contradicts it, and not given if I don't know. So look at number 6. There is a wider range of achievement amongst English pupils than amongst their Japanese counterparts. I want you to keep this phrase in your head, a wider range of achievement. Okay, so just keep that in your head. If you come up to the first paragraph here, let's take a look at what it says. Japan has a significantly better record in terms of average mathematical attainment. And then it says there was also a larger proportion of low attainers where incidentally the variation in attainment scores was much greater. Now I want you to keep that in your head. The variation was much greater. Again, keep in mind, this is just a rephrasing exercise. Look at 6. Does it say the word variation? Does it say the word greater? No, but it says synonyms of it. Right? What is the synonym of greater? Wider. What is the synonym of variation? Range. Right here. See how it is? See how it's just a rephrasing exercise? So what do we say with 6? We just say yes. That's all. That's all it is. So if you have the vocab, IELTS reading should be a walk in the park. It should be easy. Cool? If you have the vocab, it should be relatively, easy. So there's a wider range of achievement for the English. Yeah, that's true. Right? That's it. That's all it is. Okay. Any questions about this? You guys say it's false? A wider range of achievement amongst the English pupils? No, the Japanese are more concentrated, right? The Japanese are more concentrated. So it says here, there's a larger proportion of low attainers in England where the variation in attainment scores was much greater. If the variation is greater, does that mean the range is greater or the range is smaller? Yeah, the range is greater, right? Okay. Cool. Scores matches achievements. Attainment scores is going to be a rephrasing of achievements. Right there. Again, it's another rephrasing. Mm-hmm. Remember, the IELTS is not trying to trick you. Okay, Manoj, do you want to raise your hand and get your point, or Narwhal, so you can kind of walk me through how you're reading this? Okay, hey Manoj, how are you reading this?
Oh, hi.
Hey.
So, I'm reading it like they're saying the Japanese were better than the English.
Right, they are better, but they're also more concentrated. Do you know what that means?
No, I think.
Does more concentrated mean a small range or a big range?
Big range?
No, if I say something's more concentrated, the range is smaller.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
So, I'm still confused actually.
So if I say like the Japanese math scores are very high but very concentrated, that means the range is big or the range is small?
Oh, yeah, the range is smaller.
Exactly, right? But so for the English, the range was actually much bigger.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
But no, actually, still I'm confused because the option says that the English had a wider achievement.
No, it
right?
says a
Then
larger, it doesn't say wider achievement. It says a wider range of achievement.
Okay.
Right. So it doesn't say that the English. I think maybe you and Narwhal are reading 6 as the English are better at math. Is that how you're reading it?
Yes, right.
Okay. Is
yes.
that what A says? I mean, is that what 6 says?
No.
No. 6 says that there's a bigger range of achievement, which means the low score compared to the high score. Make sense?
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay. Cool. All right. Let's go to Narwhal. Hey, Narwhal. What's your confusion?
Hi, am I audible?
You are.
Okay, cool. So my main problem is that if you could just go back to
Sure.
the first paragraph. I can't see it. Yeah. So my problem is the usage of attainment scores.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's specifically in the concept of the score, the marks that they're scoring in, like, say, math.
So you
right?
think that Cambridge, the maker of IELTS, is trying to kind of trick you here? That's kind of how you're reading this?
Yeah.
Remember, IELTS is not tricky. It's not like the GRE. Yeah. So for example, they're never going to say, oh, no, this is wrong because I didn't actually say achievement. I said attainment scores. No. You're kind of using your GRE thinking brain to analyze IELTS. And IELTS is much more straightforward, right? It's basically just vocab matching. Okay, greater variation, wider range. That's all.
So there's no trick to it. It's just, attainment scores are now achievements.
Like
and
I said,
wider...
like I said, they only have one trick. The trick is they can just rephrase. That's all.
But they mean different things. A wider range of achievements is that you have many different kinds of achievements, right?
Well, it says a wider range of achievements in maths, does it not? Doesn't it say in math?
Does it?
Right here?
Studying maths, yeah.
Right.
Okay.
So I don't think they're talking about their tennis championship.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
cool.
fair point.
Yeah. So I think you're probably overthinking it a little bit.
Quite a bit. Yeah.
Okay. Let's look at number 7 here. The percentage of GNP spent on education generally reflects the level of attainment in mathematics. Now, we have to be able to rephrase this, right? So what it means is if we spend more on GNP, that means that the scores will go up. So do you guys agree with my rephrasing that there's a direct relationship? Okay, everyone agree with that? So if we actually go to paragraph number 1 here, is that information confirmed, contradicted, or we don't know? What do you guys think? Is that confirmed, contradicted, or we don't know? I see 3 different answers. Interesting. So look at this sentence right here. So England and Japan spend the same amount or the same percentage on education, but Japan is much better. Does that confirm the direct relationship or contradict it? That contradicts it. So the correct answer to this one is going to be no. No. Okay. So I see a lot of you guys saying we don't know, but it seems like the information is very direct. It says, hey, England spends a lot of money on education, but it doesn't equal scores. All right. So let's look at Shubham. Hey, Shubham.
Hey, Greg.
Hey.
So I thought because it talks about the percentage in the passage, so might be the case that they have different GNP at all. Like,
well, yeah, they definitely have a different GNP. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
but look at the
like
question. Look at the question. Does it talk about the percentage or the absolute number?
Let me see. Yeah, it talks about percentage.
Right.
Okay.
So yeah. So I agree with you. They definitely have a different GDP, but they're not talking about that. They're talking about just the percentage.
Yeah. Correct.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Makes sense. Yeah. Maybe the GRE study is hurting you guys because you're overthinking these. That's what Vishu said. Maybe I agree. Hey, Luang.
Hey, how are you?
Hey, good.
Awesome. So my question is like, how we are looking for like a detailed things like G and P or something similar to that in the passage, and then we apply the other rephrasing
Yep,
words.
that's exactly right. In fact, it's even easier than you think it is because these questions go in order. So that's another kind of secret about IELTS. So, you know, this one's going to be first, second, third, fourth. So once you find one of them, you can find all of them relatively easily.
Awesome. So like yeah, we find the keywords, and then we find the rephrasing
Yep.
words, and then we apply it.
That's pretty much it. It's
Awesome.
pretty
Thank
straightforward.
you.
Yeah, it's pretty straightforward. Yeah. And so look at number 8, everybody. Number 8, private schools in Japan are more modern and spacious than state-run secondary schools. What is the function of this sentence? What's happening in this sentence? Before you answer it, it's a comparison, right? So they're comparing the private schools to the state-run secondary schools, and they're saying the private schools are basically nicer. Yeah, they're basically saying the private schools are nicer. If we come to the paragraph, I believe it was this one. Is this the one where it talks about private and public? Yeah, right here. Okay. Does it actually make a comparison? It just says schools are modern in design. Does it say like the private is more modern, or does it say anything like that? What do you guys think? No, I don't see anything like that. So in this case, what do we choose? We choose not given. Now, again, to show you how kind of straightforward IELTS is, teachers mark homework in Japanese schools. If you go to the homework one, I believe it was it also B right here? This one. Here we go. I think it's D, right? Take a look at this. Pupils mark their own homework. So are you guys going to overthink this and go, hey, wait a minute, maybe the teacher looks at, you know, hey, think about it. Hey, or is this answer no? Right. Yeah, so this answer is no, right here. So another thing about IELTS is they usually throw in like 1 not given, maybe 2 not givens. So usually you're going to have one of each of one of these, right? All right, so let's do a question from Priyanka. Hey, Priyanka.
Hi, Greg.
Hey.
So, question 8. So I remember I read somewhere that, you know, there is good space from the pavement and we have enough place around.
But does
So I
it say
think-
the private schools are better than the secondary schools? Does it say that?
Right, so there is no comparison as such. So why not no and why not given?
Oh, because we just don't know. If there's no comparison, we just don't know. We would put no if it said that the state-run lower schools are better than the private schools.
Okay,
Yeah.
get it.
Make sense?
Yes, thank you.
And so we just kind of continue this train right here. Again, it's just going to be a rephrasing exercise. We'll do the first one together. So it says math textbooks in Japanese schools are. Okay, so let's come here. So where is the textbooks? This one right here. Traditional, everyone has their own copy. So everyone has their own copy that's supplied by the Central Education Authority. All right, these textbooks are small, cheap, but they're cheap to produce, but well set out. They're set out and logically developed. Let's see, they have color. Besides approving, okay, that's it. So let's see what we got here. Okay, not very popular with many Japanese teachers. Do we know that? No, we don't know that. Written to be used in conjunction with TV programs. Nope, we don't know that. Cheap for pupils to buy. Nope, we don't know that. So the correct answer has to be B. But let me show you the rephrasing here. Do you see where it says well organized? If you come back to the passage, where does it say well organized? Where does it say well organized? What phrase specifically? In British, yeah, right here. This is British English. Well set out. Okay, and then finally, do you see the word logically developed? logically developed, okay? That is going to be a rough rephrasing of adapted to the needs of the pupils, right? So the correct answer is B. Okay, any questions about this one? All right, let's go to Adita Mola. Hello.
Hello, Greg.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm good. For option A, there is evidence in the passage that it's inexpensive to
Right.
produce, meaning it's cheap for pupils to buy. So
Really?
you have,
Really? Are you sure? I think a pair of Air Jordans probably cost about $12 to produce. How much does it cost to buy a pair of Air Jordans?
I don't know.
Like $300, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, inexpensive to produce, does that mean cheap to buy?
Well, okay.
I think
You're
you're
talking about,
in GRE mode here.
yeah,
Yeah.
but it could mean that, it could imply that that is cheap for the
Again, but
student.
does the IELTS test inference ability?
Okay.
No, right? Yeah, so the IELTS here, so let me be clear, the IELTS does not test your inference ability, everybody. It does not test your inference ability. It only tests your ability to rephrase, read, things of that nature. Okay? All right, I'm going to have you guys do 11 by yourself. So what paragraph is that? When a new math topic is introduced, I believe it is, which one is it? This one right here. Okay, guys, take about a minute. What happens when a new math topic is introduced? Okay, so it looks like the teacher explains the topic of the lesson slowly, a lot of repetition, elaboration, examples on the board, questions from the textbook are worked through with the class, and then they do them by themselves. All right, let's take a look. Okay, go ahead and choose the best answer. I'll give you 30 seconds. Okay, what's the answer? So it looks like it's going to be C, but remember the actual paragraph never says this. It never says this. It's just a rephrasing. It is carefully and patiently explained. So let's go back to the paragraph. Find me where it says that. Slowly, with a lot of repetition and elaboration. Doesn't that mean kind of patiently and carefully and all that stuff right there? It's just rephrasing, that's all. All right, let's do the next one. Number 12, how do schools deal with students who experience difficulties? So this, of course, is going to be the paragraph about struggling, right? Which I believe is this one right here. Okay, go ahead and take about a minute or so. All right, that should be enough. Okay, choose the best answer. So again, process of elimination is your friend. Are they placed in a mixed ability class, or are they already in a mixed ability class? They're already in a mixed ability class, right? They are forced to explain their slow progress. Really, like they're put in like a jail. You have to do this. Okay. They are encouraged to copy from other pupils or to learn from them. I think it said learn from them, not copy. So the correct answer is going to be A. They're given appropriate supplementary tuition. Now look at the word appropriate. Look at the word supplementary. Let's see if we can find any synonyms. All right, let's take a look. All right. Keep up sending them if extra help is needed. Extra matches with supplementary. Right there. Okay. You get the idea. It's just a big vocab test. All right, let's do one more here. Why do Japanese students tend to achieve relatively high rates of success in maths? So let's look at this last paragraph. Take about a minute or so. Why are they so successful? Okay, choose the best answer. Okay, so process of elimination is your friend again. There's a strong emphasis on repetitive learning. I seem to remember the passage debunking this, right? It says this, it's unfair and unjustified. So D is out, right? D is out. They are used to working without help. Is that true? They never help each other? No, that's not true. Remember, they do help each other. And it is a compulsory subject, that is true, but is that the reason why they do well? No. So now we have to do the rephrasing game. Much effort is made. Find me that rephrasing in here. Find me where it says much effort is made. Hard work, right here. Okay, that's number one. Number two, find me the rephrasing of correct answers are emphasized. Where does it say that? So accuracy equals correct answers, and then focus equals emphasize. See? IELTS is pretty straightforward. It's just a big vocab test, a big rephrasing test. That's all it is. So if you are interested in IELTS, I have some good news for you. Cambridge, the makers of IELTS, they release these books, which are called Cambridge practice test papers or something like that. And each book has 4 practice tests. And they've already released, I think, like 14 of these. So 14 times 4 is what, 56 practice tests? And then my expectation for you guys with the IELTS is you can get like... you can get like a 8.0 minimum. That's kind of my expectation. Because remember, the IELTS is very straightforward. It's just a giant vocab test. It's just a giant vocab test. That's all it is. No inferences, no author's purpose, no why is the author doing this, none of that stuff. It's basically just, hey, do you know how to rephrase? If you do, there you go. Cool. All right, let's take some questions here. Hey, Diana.
Hi, Greg. So when you say giant vocab test, that means like you just have to be good at vocabulary. That's it.
Pretty much. I mean, the skill that the IELTS reading really emphasizes is just the ability to rephrase. That's all it is.
And does it have like any specific vocabulary like for like TOEFL?
It does. I mean, it's kind of similar vocabulary to TOEFL, but it's not like GRE vocabulary. I'll show you what I mean. So, for example, to get this number 13 correct, you had to know what they meant by much effort, which is hard work, and you had to know what they meant by correct answers, which is accuracy, and you had to know what they meant by emphasized, which is focus. So if you know those kind of, relatively simple words, it's not like GRE vocab, right?
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. All right. The reason why people don't do as well on IELTS as they probably could is because they just forget that it's all just rephrasing. And maybe they fall into traps or they use the same vocab, or maybe they just miss one word or something like that. Okay. Let's go to Diana. You have another question, Diana?
Yeah, sorry. So, and does it also have like different sections like speaking?
Yeah, it does. Yeah. But again, it's all very similar. So the listening section is also just a big rephrasing exercise. That's all it is. The speaking is actually more fun than the TOEFL because you get to talk to a human. You get to talk to a human, which is, I think, better than talking to a screen. And then finally, the writing is it's kind of like TOEFL, but it's also different. You have to write about a chart, like a pie chart or a bar chart. And then they have an issue essay kind of thing, like a task 2 TOEFL essay. So in some ways it's similar, in other ways it's different.
So it doesn't matter which test you take because most universities accept both, correct?
TOEFL will tell you it does matter, but that's a bunch of bullshit because they want people to take the TOEFL, right? It doesn't matter. Pretty much every university, with maybe a couple of exceptions, takes the IELTS.
All right. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. All right. Let's go to Narwhal. Hey, Narwhal.
Hi, Greg.
Hey.
Yep. I had a question about the writing.
Sure.
Yeah. How hard is it?
I mean, it's much easier than GRE writing.
Okay, but so I think somebody told me that you shouldn't use big, complicated words, even if you know the usage in the IELTS.
No, I'm not sure I agree with that. The IELTS, the way they do the grading is they do it kind of on an individual metric. So they'll look at, were you able to complete the task? How's your vocab? How's your grammar? And they'll give you an individual score for all of those, and then they average it out. Mm-hmm. So I don't think your friend is exactly correct here. But put it this way, the writing is easier than the GRE.
Okay. So if I just practice for the GRE writing, I should be fine on this?
There's no reason why none of you or any of you cannot get an 8 on the IELTS. Because like I said, it's not measuring your thinking ability. It's just measuring your, can you rephrase? That's all. So if you can do that, then yes, I think you'll be fine on the IELTS.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, also, are they really strict about word limits?
I mean, you have to write a minimum number of words, but I wouldn't say that they're overly strict about a maximum number of words.
Okay. And if you've ever given if you've ever had to give the IELTS on the paper-based one, can you cross out and mark stuff the same way that you've done it right now while showing us?
I haven't taken an official IELTS, but I believe you can, yes.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Cool. Okay, let's go to Shubham. Hey, Shubham.
Hey, Craig. I just wanted to share my experience of writing IELTS. So what I felt was before going to IELTS, I saw your videos for argument and issue essays. I followed the structure, but the problem was I hadn't worked on my grammar or, my other mistakes that you basically point out while evaluating writing for GRE. And my experience, according to my experience, they mostly test how good is your grammar within your writing. And if you're making some silly spelling mistakes, that also is very dangerous.
Yeah.
Because mostly students get pretty low score in writing than any other sections, and it's a very huge trend.
Yeah, I agree with you because remember, the GRE and the IELTS are measuring different things. So the GRE is measuring your thinking ability, right? Hey, can you critical think, right? And then the IELTS is measuring just your English ability, right? Can you write a sentence with no grammar mistakes? Can you use punctuation correctly? So yeah, I'm not surprised that your score would suffer if you have grammar mistakes.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's it. Thank you.
Thanks. Yep. Let's go to Ronit. Hey, Ronit. Ronit, are you there? All right. Let's go to... Oh,
Can
there
you
you
hear
go.
me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Sorry. Yeah, I was just asking, do you have a session planned for writing as well for IELTS?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, if you guys are interested in this, the IELTS is pretty fun to talk about because it has a lot of variety, so it's not as repetitive as the TOEFL. But yeah, we can do one if you guys are interested.
Yeah, sure. Like I have it next to next week. If it's possible before that, I would really appreciate it.
Yeah, we can definitely talk about it.
Thank you so much.
All right. Let's go to Paratosh. Paratosh, how are you?
Yeah, hey Greg, I'm good. I just wanted to know if you know the difference between the general and the academic test, and like how much difference is there in the difficulty and other sections.
So the general test is kind of a joke. I don't think anybody actually takes that seriously. So whenever we talk about the IELTS, we're always talking about the academic test. But there's a little bit, there are some differences in the reading. So the general test will sometimes give you like an advertisement, you know, like stuff that you would encounter in the real world or something. Whereas the academic one is just articles. I believe the listening is almost the same, or maybe it is the same. But basically, don't worry about the general. It's a joke. Nobody takes it seriously. Whenever we talk about the IELTS, it's always the academic.
Okay, fine. Thank you.
Yep, no problem. Any more questions about any of this stuff, guys? All right, so what I want you to take away from this is IELTS reading is just a giant rephrasing exercise. That's all it is. And so if you guys are able to, you know, really get good at that skill, like the ability to rephrase stuff, it's going to help you not only on the IELTS, it's going to help you on the GRE as well. Because, of course, the GRE does rely on rephrasing as well, right? All right, everybody. I'll talk to you guys later. Hope you found this useful. Bye-bye.